Rounding out our final Pokemon for this batch of teams is none other than Clawitzer, a fairly unique bulky water type that can underpace options like Primarina for Trick Room, while still also being a special attacker unlike Pokemon such as Azumarill and Araquanid that are technically slower. So today, I want to try Clawitzer and see if we can even make it work. I got a suggestion from my friend Harris, and if you enjoy and want to see more content like this, of course, make sure you guys like and subscribe for more, as I have a lot more teams in the pipeline, and I actually have a poll on the community tab if you guys want to check it out, where you can vote on our video for tomorrow. I have 4 teams that I'm going to feature over the next 4 days, but you guys get to decide which one I'm going to be doing first, so make sure you guys vote on that option. With that said though, starting off, we have none other than Registeel, which is going to be an incredible breaker for a lot of different options that Claw might struggle a little bit with in this tier. With Iron Defense, Body Press, Heavy Slam, and Protect, this proves to be just a very nice wall breaker on the physical side in case of any special walls that might try and sponge hits from Clawitzer or any AV Pokemon. Most of them aren't going to like taking the combination of an Iron Defense boosting Pokemon with Body Press and then Heavy Slam to take on any random fairy types. This is also just great at handling most slower threats, and realistically it's also just very difficult to take down. I can typically lead this and punish most leads, and overall it just proves to be a very terrifying piece. Moving on, we do have a nice fake out user with Incineroar with a nice safety goggles moveset and Tera Water to allow us to take on hits from Urshifu Rapid and other prevalent physical attackers a little bit better. With Parting Shot, Darkest Lariat, Flare Blitz, and Fake Out, this proves to be really just a nice catch-all support piece, allowing us an easier time saving up Trick Room, and it's just a nice pivoter to allow our Trick Room threats to take hits just a little bit better. Our spread overall should allow us to outpace Pokemon like Iron Hands in case we fight any before I can get up a Trick Room, allowing us to Parting Shot on them comfortably, with our spread also taking hits from Pokemon like Shampoo very efficiently. Moving on, we have a Raging Bolt with Tera Fairy and Draco Meteor, Thunderclap, Volt Switch, and Protect. Now, I'll be honest, the Volt Switch is kind of an oversight. This was supposed to be Thunderbolt, but I forgot to change it on the rental, so we're going to be using Thunderbolt today, on a Volt Switch today, which I'm perfectly fine with. Still, this could be gaining some nice momentum for us in case I don't really need the Quark Drive, well, the Protosynthesis boost, I should say. And with this spread in general, we should be able to take hits pretty comfortably for most Pokemon, while outpacing anything that might be reaching 107, which would be like a little bit slower speed tier for Pokemon such as Rillaboom, in case that they're not trying to outpace things like Tyranitar. It's not the worst speed tier to hit, but it does like just barely creep over the 85 margin, which isn't terrible if I want to fire off a quick Draco Meteor, especially considering the fact this could have some use outside of Trick Room as a nice wall breaker for us, or a cleaner even. Moving on, we have the Mon of the Hour being Clawitzer, which I decided to go with a very Trick Room oriented spread here with a Tera Water Assault Vest set. With Water Pulse and Muddy Water, these are 2 very strong water stabs that can not only hit an opponent for spread, but also just a nice single target option that'll be more accurate than Muddy Water. I think it's going to be great for most different grass types in the tier. And finally, we have Aura Sphere, which will also be great for a lot of the dark types in VGC, as well as the fact that it is Mega Launcher boosted. I figured this would be a little bit better coverage than something like a Dark Pulse would be at least, so I'm going to run with it. And overall, Claw should be a pretty terrifying option. Moving on, we have Sinistcha with a Rocky Helmet Tera Dragon set. Tera Dragons can be very important for options like Ogerpon in the tier that might otherwise be able to stop us from getting up the Trick Room successfully, and with Rage Powder, Trick Room, Matcha Gotcha, and Strength Sap, this should be a really nice Phys-Def catch-all support Pokemon that should enable a lot of our other threats such as Clawitzer very comfortably, taking on all of the bulky waters that might try and sit on us. Overall, this will be a great support piece, and it's also great next to our final partner on the team being none other than Sylveon. Now, Sylveon's a pretty interesting fairy type, as this is, in my opinion, still a pretty slept on Pokemon, and it's a really great abuser for Trick Room for fairy typing. I think this is a little bit better of an option, actually, personally, than even something like a Primarina. It's just a little harder to justify another pure fairy typing in the tier. But with Hyper Voice and Hyper Beam, you have 2 very powerful fairy type options, even when you do Tera Fire. And if you do decide to keep this thing as a pre-Tera option, you still have Tera Blast, which is a nice single target fairy move that you could still use without having to commit to Hyper Beam, which now gives the whole turn for you. And overall, this turns Sylveon into a very terrifying Throat Spray user that has pretty amazing coverage with the Tera Fire, Fire Blast, as well as all the pre-Tera Fairy options. And it overall is a very difficult Pokemon for most teams to deal with. If you guys want to try the team out yourselves, the rental code is going to be on screen here, as well as with the team in the description below. And with that said, let's get right into today's battles. Alright, we're here today with our very first match with the Clawitzer team. Now, I can't lie, I'm a little bit nervous, to say the least, using Clawitzer on Ranked, but it's a decent enough Pokemon in Trick Room, and I think, unironically, it can kind of work here. I mean, realistically, I think, in particular, the biggest benefit of Claw here is going to be the moveset. I think that the water typing here is going to offensively match up well, barring the Raging Bolt. Also, I mean, I guess the Ogerpon too. This isn't exactly the best matchup in hindsight, but the Sylveon in tandem with it, I do think applies a lot of pressure. I think that in terms of my lead here, I think I definitely need to go with the Trick Room route, which means I do need Sinistcha on lead, as getting up Trick Room does get me a really good position here. Because of this, I should probably apply pressure with Registeel, as I think Registeel will get me a spot that can hopefully open up the Claw Sylveon endgame, if that makes sense. Since it's a great Metagross check for one, which is probably the best counterplay option to both of these, specifically like a Tera Dragon Metagross with Bullet Punch could deal a lot of damage to that duo. But even outside of that, I mean, there's a lot of different Tera typings in Metagross. Tera Water also would be a good option, and it would be a little bit better in Sylveon, but I just think it's a little bit less likely to come, to be fair. It's still not bad, though. They're going to lead off with their Shifu Single and Flutter Mane. Now, this is still fine, in all honesty. I might need to burn a Tera on the Sinistcha, which isn't great. Actually, I really don't like the idea of doing that, I'm going to be honest. Okay. So, here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to go for Trick Room. Trick Room is going to be already a great option here. And then, meanwhile, I'm also going to go for the Iron Defense here. Now, this should help a lot, regardless of whatever Tera my opponent goes for. If they're going to target my Registeel, so be it. That should be fine. I feel like that my Sinistcha should hopefully be able to at least take on the Flutterman. If it's going to lock into Shadow Ball too, that's good for later on. So I'm going to go for my Iron Defense and at least try and punish them for going for something else. They're going to go for U-turn. Okay, that works out great because my opponent probably made the worst play they could have that turn. Wicked Blow into either of my Pokemon, frankly, would have been great. This also reveals their Scarf for Shifu, which is really going to be important for the end game, because that means that Sylveon should be a lot better offensively into it, though this also leads me to believe it is probably Tera Poison, so I'll need to keep that in mind. They're going to go into Incineroar here. Now, thankfully, it cannot clear body me, so my Registeel is going to prove to be a very big problem. They could obviously go for Darkest Lariat, which might be their best route against me, but I'm kind of fine with this. I can proceed to just get off some good damage. They could Fake Out in theory, that's fine. I can just go for Matcha, and then between Matcha and even if they do Fake Out me, I'm kind of fine just taking the hit because I have +2 defense. I could also just, you know, sit on their team. And Registeel proves to be kind of a decent mon at checking most of the things that are going to pressure my Claw in the end game. Specifically things like Fake Out turns, and I can also just maul things like Urshifu before it does anything to me. What I'll proceed to do here is go for the Strength Sap. Yeah, I think Strength Sap and Incineroar, just weakening its damage output into my Registeel, because this is a way that I could actually mitigate that in theory. If it's Safety Goggles, it's fine. We'll scout for it. I'll go for Heavy Slam into Flutter Mane meanwhile, since we can just get some good damage off onto that. They reveal they're not choiced Flutter Mane, which is very good information for later. Probably not something I super needed to reveal now, but I'll definitely take it. Incineroar is going to show, meanwhile, that it's not Clear Amulet, which was pretty likely to be fair, but it's also not Safety Goggles, which is very good for us. That's a pretty decent item on Incineroar that it's just not using. I could have potentially went for Body Press. Maybe I should have went for Body Press, but it's fine. This is a -1 Incineroar. It's not going to do a lot. Even with that knockoff, as we can see, it is pretty negligible damage here, and it still has to take the Rocky Helmet punish. So I'm very fine with this. Overall, I can probably just go into that Incineroar spot, actually, now that I think about it. Since Incineroar will probably not carry Protect, and even with a hard swap here, I mean, they don't have a great Body Press switch. They really don't. I'll go for Matcha here because I don't really need to continue to go for the Strength Tap, and then Body Press into the Incineroar should be great. Their only check to this is on the other side of the field, and it's swapping out anyway right now, which is amazing because this means that when I kill that Incineroar this turn, I won't even have to worry about taking a hit from Flutter Mane. And they've revealed Metagross as Mon number 4, which I'm very fine with Metagross as Mon number 4. This actually opens up Claw a lot in the endgame if they don't Tera that, because the combination of Registeel and Claw could actually offensively put up a ton of pressure. They'll need to use their threats like the Flutter Mane to pressure my my Registeel, specifically Flutter Mane and Urshifu. And that's great because my Claw could, in theory, with Tera Water, just massacre either Mon that I want. I could go for things like Muddy Water with Tera Water, which will do a lot of damage. I can go for the Aura Sphere and Urshifu, which will do a lot of damage. Like, I have options there, actually. So I'm kind of vibing with this. Also, Metagross being here over something like Ogerpon or Raging Bull is really huge because those were the two reasons I wanted to almost bench the Star Mons today. So I'm very okay with this. How many turns of Trick Room are left? There's 2 turns. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we're going to try and get the Claw in. We're going to go for Rage Powder this turn, and I'm going to go for a Body Press into that Urshifu because just massacring that Urshifu will be very important. If they're going to burn a Tera to preserve the Urshifu this turn, I'm very fine with that. They are going to burn a Tera to preserve Urshifu this turn. I'm very fine with that. Tera Ghost. Okay, Tera Ghost is decent. It's still not a huge concern, but it is decent here for sure. I can proceed to just go for like a Heavy Slam and a Muddy Water into that, and that's probably fine. Also, just drawing in that Urshifu's attack into my Sinistcha and forcing them to KO will be really good because once I KO the Urshifu, I'm not really scared of my opponent having Trick Room up. So they can't kill us with Heavy Slam. That's really good. And then, yeah, they're going to be forced to quick Wicked Blow here. I get a very free Muddy Water this turn, plus Heavy Slam right into that Urshifu. I could also just go for Water Pulse. Actually, I will just go for Water Pulse with Tera Water because that's a guaranteed attack right there versus Muddy Water, which will be spread. It's going to be weaker, and also it could miss, and I don't really like that. Plus, I mean, realistically, just targeting that spot for as much damage as possible will be huge. Now that they're a Ghost type, I don't even have to worry about a 50-50 going into Flutter because this is always just my best play. Just dealing that damage as quickly and efficiently as possible. There's a good chance they have to sack Flutter Mane here too, which is going to be even better because I feel like Urshifu is arguably the more important mon to keep around to beat. Yep, perfect. So as I was thinking, it is the more important mon to keep around to beat my Registeel because they have Wicked Blow, which can crit through me, and Flutter Mane has to deal with Heavy Slam, which is very much not in its favor. So this is really huge because my opponent now has to lock a very bad move on that Urshifu for my Sylveon, which is another reason why I really like the Sylveon. On the next turn, I can actually completely disrespect Urshifu, which is great, and I can just solo target the Metagross, because whether I'm going for Tera Water Water Pulse, or if I'm going for +2 Body Press, it's going to take a lot of damage. And I can get a really good board state where I can just clear through two of the biggest threats that my opponent brought to this match. So, I'm perfectly fine with this. Again, even if they go for like a Wicked Blow on the Urshifu this turn, I don't really care. Psychic Fang goes off, it doesn't even kill, which is huge. Now, they could definitely pick off my Claw. I'm kind of fine with that at this point, though. My goal is just to either have them think that Claw is somehow the threat, which I'm very okay with that if they do, or to just completely get eviscerated by targeting my Registeel and then taking Tera Water Water Pulses. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go for Tera Water Water Pulse right into that Metagross, and I'm going to go for the Body Press right into that Metagross. Both of these should deal immense damage. They're going to go for Wicked Blow into the Registeel. As we can see, though, that does no damage at all. And then Psychic Fangs will go off to kill the Claw. I'm perfectly fine with that. On the following turn, I'm going to go right into my Sylveon, which my Sylveon can just go for Hyper Voice. I'm pretty good at just clicking Hyper Voice at this point. I might actually, now that I think about it, I might just click, yeah, okay, so I might need to click the, Protect that turn, just specifically to try and take on hits a little bit better. Because Body Press could realistically be my way of winning this. Yeah, I'm gonna probably need to do that. Yep, we're gonna go for Protect here. And then I'll go for a Body Press. We might need a crit or just a really good roll here. It's looking like this might be roll range, though, I can't lie. So it'll be unfortunate. Maybe I should have clicked Muddy Water earlier on in the match. It's still not a huge deal, to be fair, but it's looking like maybe that was the play. Oh, they're gonna go for Tantrum. Okay, that was a good play by my opponent as well. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really do a lot about that. That's just gonna be game. Maybe I should have Terrified the Sylveon, in all honesty. Terrifying. Well, okay, Terrifier Sylveon, to be fair, really only helped with this exchange right here, specifically if I made it on that turn. But it was, to be fair, probably the better option, seeing Metagross was around in hindsight. So it is what it is. A little unfortunate game 1 loss, but that's fine. I still think the team will do some decent work. Considering the fact that this team, of all things, with the misfit range of Pokemon it has, still managed to nearly pull out a win, and it only came down to me really badly playing in hindsight, I'll definitely take it. Because especially seeing that I knew all 4 of my opponent's mons, maybe I should have honestly just Terrified the Sylveon. Regardless, though, we'll see you guys in game number 2. Peace out. Alright, for game number 2, we're taking on another Trick Room team. Now, I will say this one's definitely going to be a bit interesting, because I actually do think that my Claw has a really good matchup, considering they have no actual resist to this thing outside of maybe Urshifu. The Vikavolt will be a bit of a problem, but I do thankfully have actual really good defensive counterplay to this. Despite not having a ground type, I have options like Raging Bolt, which will 4 times resist. I also have Sinistcha, which actually is also a really good check to most of this team. I will probably need to burn my Tera Dragon here, but I'm not too concerned with that. I think, again, though, my lead will probably be Sinistcha and Registeel this game. And I think I go with the Raging Bolt and Claw as my backline. I could really make any of these 6 work, in my opinion, this game. But I think that specifically trying to lead off in a way where I can force my opponent to either just... I can force my opponent to either have to get punished by not killing my... Well, by killing my Sinistcha. Or I can punish my opponent by getting up my Trick Room. Like, either way, I get a lot out of this lead, the point being. Because I could go for the same Iron Defense plus Trick Room play, even if they go with the same Urshifu plus Flutter Mane lead that my last opponent did. And I'm kind of set, because there's not a lot they can do into that in hindsight. Because even thinking out loud, right? Like, let's say they go for Close Combat plus Shadow Ball into my team. They get off some good damage. Okay, maybe they kill both my Pokemon, but Raging Bolt and Claw on the field afterwards would be really fucking good. Plus, I think they're honestly more inclined to get Trick Room up than I am even, which is great for me. Perfect. Vikavolt and Porygon 2. This is very fine. Because with Vikavolt and Porygon 2 on the field, I could actually definitely start taking advantage of my opponent immediately. because now all I need to do is just go for a Machagachi here, try and get some burns, try and get some health back in case my opponent goes for any offense, and then I go for an Iron Defense here. Now, I'm curious if the Porygon will go for a defensive Tera. If they do, I'm kind of fine just going for Heavy Slam into it. Plus, I'm also just kind of fine having my defense boosted for the Rhyperior that will inevitably come in on a later turn. So yeah, I'm very fine with all of this in hindsight. Vikavolt also doesn't really deal a lot of damage to either of my Pokemon, so this is also very good. And yeah, seeing that my Registeel is going to be one of the fastest Pokemon on the field is honestly pretty funny, I can't lie. We burn the Vikavolt, that's decent, just for chip damage over time. They're going to Bug Buzz meanwhile on my Sinistcha, which it does a good amount of damage, but they do not appear to be Throat Spray. I'm curious if that's Specs actually. That felt like it might have been Specs damage. I know that it's not, like, Sinistcha isn't exactly the most specially defensive Pokemon, but it has some decent Spadef, and considering that was only a neutral hit, I'm almost curious if that was Specs. Since we didn't see another item on Vikavolt anyway, it's definitely either Specs or, like, probably an Assault Vest set. It's definitely not Leftovers or any other, like, visible item. Anyway, we're going to go for a Body Press here into the Porygon 2. Realistically, just killing this mon as quickly as possible will be nice, and I can bring in on the following turn my Raging Bolt, because Raging Bolt can be a nice offensive partner for my team currently. They're going to go for Tera here. They're going to Tera the Porygon 2. Just don't be Tera Ghost. Don't be Tera Ghost. It's Tera Grass. Okay, Tera Grass is very fine. I'm actually very okay with Tera Grass. This just means that we definitely have to go into Raging Bolt. But Raging Bolt's probably going to be my Terramon anyway, so I'm not too concerned. They're also just hurting their own Porygon 2 with Discharge anyway, which is fine. And they've now made sure that my Sinistcha can live. They've paralyzed their Porygon 2. Why would you do that? Oh, they paralyzed Sinistcha too. Fuck you. That's not good. Not what we wanted. They'll go for Thunderbolt meanwhile into my Registeel. That's fine. This does absolutely no damage. Unfortunately, we get parried. It is what it is, but I can, at minimum, get some good damage with my Registeel here. Yeah, that's perfect. For +2, I'll take that. We'll get some Leftovers recovery this turn. I think that my play is just to try and go for Protect. I'd let them KO my Sinistcha in all honesty, because just letting them do that should hopefully allow me to get in a better Pokemon on the field. Just to be safe, if they do try and, you know, scout around this, I'm going to go for a Trick Room and reverse the positioning, because I think at that point I can then just lean very heavily into killing Porygon 2. So in case if they try and value breaking through my Registeel, which is a really good offensive threat to their team, I'm kind of fine with this. But either way, we paralyzed the Porygon 2 here, which is great, so it's just up to the Vikavolt now, which is going to go for Discharge. That will definitely kill my Sinistcha. So it's a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'm not too concerned personally, because this is still a really good turn for us, as I can bring in my Raging Bolt. And they're going to definitely struggle to take on Raging Bolt, especially with Tera Fairy. I mean, that mon is just going to be a monster against our team. I'll go for Draco pretty immediately into the Vikavolt, because that plus Body Press on that Porygon 2 will get me such good positioning. I might even actually take advantage of the turn and go for another Iron Defense, because the Rhyperior can no longer Tera. And I could actually probably just start eviscerating that on later turns, which might be a better play. So I think I might actually do that instead. Yeah, I'll leave the Porygon 2B for now, because this thing existing is kind of decent for me. We'll go for Draco, though, for sure into that Vikavolt, because I do want that spot to be pressured as quickly as possible. And then, yeah, we'll set up the Registeel, because even if something like Urshifu comes in later on, I'm kind of fine with it, since the Registeel will still be able to body press it pretty comfortably, even if it's going for Wicked Blow, or if it's going for Surging Strikes for that matter. And then I also have options like Raging Bolt that can priority Thunderclap very confidently into that. Even the Claw could do some decent damage into that, so I'm pretty okay. They're going to go for Recover on P2. That's perfectly fine. We're getting up some nice boosts here. And despite the fact that Raging Bolt will be weakened, it's still going to be a fairly strong Pokemon this turn. We take that Bug Buzz very well, and Vikavolt is going to have to drop now. We now have a +4 Registeel, and they've lost one of their best special breakers right here. So I am very much in a good position in my opinion. This is very much so turning into a Registeel video, which was very unintentional. But, I mean, Registeel is really good, and I think it does open up a lot of doors for Claw, so I'll take it. I'm curious about what they'll bring in next. I think that it probably is going to be the Rhyperior, considering the fact that I have a -2 Raging Bolt, and then I also have a Registeel that they really need to get past. They're going to bring in Rhyperior. Yep, okay, that's perfectly fine. It's not Tera, though, which is very good for me. We're going to go for a Draco Meteor right into that Rhyperior, and I think I'm also going to go for a Body Press right into that Rhyperior. Despite the fact that Rhyperior can get some good damage off, I really do just want to get that mon weakened before it can set up anything, or before I let it like accidentally pop a weakness policy when it is underpacing my team. And I can potentially protect around any sort of turns after it's popped a policy in a later section. So I'm very much fine with this. Earthquake will do negligible damage to both of my Pokemon. So I'm very much okay with this, especially since they're just continuing to damage their own Porygon too. Oh, perfect. Okay, so we managed to just KO that anyway. And it was Rocky Helmet. All right, that's fine. A little bit unfortunate we had to take helmet damage, but honestly, this was for the best. Just KOing that Pokemon will be really good for us. The Draco Meteor does land. I can't lie. I really thought that missed. But we'll be getting some nice enough damage off. I'll have to bring in my Claw for sure because I need to make sure that Raging Bolt can get its boosts cleared. Now that it is, well, it's drops cleared, I should say. Now that it's at -4. But Claw should be able to probably match up fine to really whatever comes in. My guess is it's going to be Urshifu. Is it going to be Urshifu? It's going to be Fluttermane, actually. Okay, well, then I definitely need to clear my drops. Fluttermane also should just be able to not deal a lot of damage anyway, especially if it's boost your speed. It's going to be Special Attack. Okay, well, that's whatever. Yeah, we're going to switch right into AV Claw here, and then I'm going to go for a Protect, meanwhile, on my Registeel, as I should really try and get this thing as healthy as possible for the Fluttermane. If they give me a Trick Room, I'm very much fine with that, because Trick Room just means that my Registeel gains a speed advantage again against Fluttermane. The Claw would also benefit a lot because I could just go for Muddy Water or Ice Beam even into that Porygon too. And then I'm kind of set up later for Raging Bolt as well. So I don't think they'll go for Trick Room. I think they're going to try and just recover in like Thunderbolt spam and try and pair my team, if I had to guess, but I'm not really too sure here. Fluttermane will go for Protect, so that means they're probably gunning the Registeel down as it would have been the Pokemon that could pose the most damage initially. So that's great. I get a very free turn with Registeel. Obviously, I mean, I could have maybe body pressed the P2, but I'm not too concerned. Ooh, they're going to go for Recover, actually. It's still honestly a fine play for us because I could proceed to just go for the Heavy Slam into Flutter plus the Ice Beam into that Porygon too. That should get me a lot of damage outright immediately. So this Ice Beam will be able to get a really strong super effective hit, especially before Porygon 2 can even do anything to us. I know it does have a +1 Thunderbolt, but I'm not too scared of it. And then meanwhile, this Fluttermane won't KO my Registeel because Fluttermane is weak. Fluttermane is very weak without Tera boosting it. So Registeel, thankfully, because we are so Spid F, is going to be able to chew this hit very comfortably. With 150 special defense, this thing is a monster. So Ice Beam will go off meanwhile, and that does almost half. That's actually pretty impressive. Because the Violet Porygon 2 is such a ridiculously bulky Pokemon, and the full Parrot kind of saves us here, but I'll be honest, I don't think it matters a lot. Raging Bolt plus Registeel is probably going to KO this anyway on the following turn, so this is more so just good for Claw, because Claw now can easily pick this off. I'll go for Heavy Slam just so I can make sure that Claw gets another hit in. Perfect. Okay, so my opponent forfeits. All right, well, we're going to be 1-1 for the day. I'll try and get in one more quick game. If I can't get a quick game, you'll just see me cut right to outro, but I'm going to hope that I can get one more quick game, and I'll try one more match. All right, for our final game of the day, we're taking on Psyspam, which should be a kind of grim matchup, I can't lie. But thankfully, though, I do have a couple things here in particular that could put up some decent pressure. This might even be a game where I just kind of ditch my speed control because I don't know how good it is, in all honesty. I think Sinistcha has some merit, but I feel like it's kind of just going to get eviscerated and out-offensed even. So we're going to go with Incineroar and Registeel. I think Incineroar Registeel is actually a really good lead here. Gets me a lot of mileage. They do not really kill this core that well. I could probably start immediately going for Iron Defenses on my Registeel and then get Incineroar meanwhile to either go for a Fake Out pretty nice into most Pokemon, or I can use it instead to maybe just go for things like Lariat immediately. I feel like Claw actually has a really good offensive matchup here. They don't have a water resist outside of Tera, which is huge. And I think my final mon in this game, I think that it's probably the Raging Bolt. I think my goal here is probably going to be to Tera either the Incineroar or the Claw. Again, they don't really have a water resist, so I'm kind of fine just leaning into Claw damage. I don't get a lot out of going for things like Terrify or Sylveon, though, because it just gets pressured by other things. I mean, Sylveon honestly just has a lot going out of its favor this game offensively. It's not a terrible mon, though. I just think that in comparison to Raging Bolt's just a little more free. They're going to go for Indeedee Iron Crown lead, which I'm very fine with. I could proceed to just go for an Iron Defense and a Lariat right in, with the Lariat going right into the Iron Crown, and then the Iron Defense just on my Registeel. If they go for something like a Tera Fighting, I'm kind of okay with it. But I don't really think it hurts me, in all honesty, if they do. Yeah, okay, so I'm kind of fine with that. We're going to go for the Lariat, though. And then I'm going to go for the Iron Defense here. This should hopefully help just with taking any sort of hit. They can't comfortably go for Expanding Force this turn, obviously, because it's just not going to deal real damage. They'll probably go for a Fighting move. Focus Blast. Yep, okay. Oh my god, they're going for that into the Incineroar. Well, this is still fine. This is still actually very fine, because I can take advantage of that pretty well. I now have a +2. They're Life Orb for 1, which is really not a great item that you want to run on that Pokemon. So I'm already sitting kind of pretty. But more importantly, too, I could probably actually just go right into my Raging Bolt here. Yeah, Raging Bolt. Okay. Actually, I might want to go into Claw instead. Yeah, I think I'm going to go into Claw instead. So I think my goal here is going to be to try and go for the Tera Water Pulse right into the Iron Crown. Just get off some immediate damage on this Pokemon. And then also to go for the Body Press, just in case they're going to go for Expanding Force this turn. Expanding Force will deal a lot of damage, obviously, and I can't really protect Claw with that. But this is kind of the only thing that I think I can do that will actually prove to punish it. Because otherwise I have to, like, Volt Switch out of my Raging Bolt and give up its boost. And I don't really like the idea of doing that, because Raging Bolt will need it to try and hopefully break Archaludon in a late game situation. If they didn't bring Archaludon, then I guess maybe this isn't my most optimal play. But I feel like Archaludon is a pretty decent threat to my team, especially with Tera, and I would rather just keep my boosts around as long as possible for it. So they're going to go for Helping Hand here, and they're going to go for a Focus Blast into the Registeel. Oh my goodness. Fuck you for hitting that twice. Who hits this move twice? Okay, thankfully Registeel takes that. Shoutouts to Registeel for actually being like a good Pokemon. Truly like the best Steel type in this format. And Claw will pick this off in combination with the Registeel, which is huge. Proving once again that, you know, they really do need a Water type resist on this team, so I will take it. Claw is already doing some decent work. They're gonna probably, I feel like the Archaludon definitely has to come in the back. I think that they would have led Dorn if they were gonna bring it. I don't think Torn is a good matchup in my team anyway, though, outside of, I just guess, Prankster Taunt for the thing. Yep, they're going into Archaludon here. Alright, Archaludon is very fine. I'm gonna go for the Ice Beam here, just in case they're Tera Fairy. I don't really want to fuck around with this. And then I'll go for a Protect on Registeel just to try and take a hit a little bit better. They're gonna, of course, not Tera this turn, which I'm fine with. I mean, Ice Beam is still at least a neutral hit. They'll go for Follow Me, meanwhile, on DD. Okay, Follow Me is interesting, but it's fair, for sure. It's honestly a fair hit. Ooh, Electro Shot, okay. So thankfully, if they're not Power Herb, they do have to charge a turn. So that's okay. They're gonna raise Special Attack, that's whatever. And then they're not Power Herb. That is good. That's probably why they have the Torn, is to do the Power Herb shenaniganry. I could proceed to just switch out of my Claw into Raging Bolt, which will 4 times resist this. So I will do that, actually. I think it's a fine play. And then I'll go for a Body Press this turn into the Archaludon here. If they go for Tera, then good play. That was a really good way to preserve Tera. Not a lot I could do. If they're going to kill my Registeel, good play. Not a lot I could do around that. I'm hoping, though, they go for the Raging Bolt. Well, for the now Raging Bolt, I should say. Or initially, it was the Claw. Because that will get me a lot. They're going to go for Follow Me again. That's fine. I at least get a +2 Iron Defense on the Indeedee. I can clear through the Psychic Terrain Setter as well, which should enable my Raging Bolt for a later game situation. So I'm very fine with this. Also, yeah, Indeedee again, just drop. Oh, okay, Indeedee does not drop here. It is Rocky Helmet as well, which is very good information. Okay, so that's not great. That's not great at all, but it's not terrible either, to be fair. Okay. So how many turns of Psychic Terrain are left? 1 turn of Terrain. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to just go for a Protect here, and then I'm going to go for a Body Press here into the Indeedee. I know that will mean that I'm going to lose my Registeel. I'm kind of fine with it, though, because if I can clear through the Follow Me user, I get much more free turns later on. Okay, they're just going to go for Body Press. All right, that's fine. All right, so we have our Proto Special Attack at least, and I also do have my Claw in the back. So this is already looking not terrible here. Thankfully as well, we can preserve some health on the Raging Bolt, which is nice. And I can probably actually just go for like a Draco Meteor plus a Muddy Water here. Yeah, Muddy Water plus Draco should be huge, actually. Well, actually, I think I need to go for a Protect again. I need to get the double Protect. And the logic being here is that I can't really waste this turn on Indeedee. Well, actually, I can. I can actually just go right for the... I can go right for the Draco Meteor, just to be safe. I feel like there's a world where they just Helping Hand boost, just to KO. Yeah, I just go for this anyway. I think this is fine. They're gonna go for Follow Me, so yeah, okay. I'm kind of curious about what they'll go for here. I feel like it's just Draco, right? Just Draco, yeah, okay. So they'll at least drop their Special Attack, which actually might not be terrible, because Claw will now have a lot more health going into this final sequence, which is huge. Muddy Water would have probably been the better play in hindsight, but I'm still kind of fine with it. Because Archaludon now has to reboost its Special Attack, which is decent. And I have a pretty healthy Claw meanwhile. Now I'm kind of curious about what they'll go for. but I'm just hoping it's nothing too terrifying. What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? I feel like that they're gonna probably have Volk as a backliner, which works out really well for me. No, it's Torn. Torn backline is okay. I'm very much fine with this. We'll go for a Muddy Water here. My goal is just gonna be to try and drop through stats at this point. Oh wait, you know what? They're gonna go for Rain Dance. They win the game. I can't beat that. I cannot beat that. No, because Rain Dance plus Electric Shot will eviscerate me, and there's not a lot I could do. Even if I called it Tera, right? I mean, there's really not a lot I could do. Unless if they go for like a Tera Fire here for some reason. Or I guess maybe I can like just drop accuracy and get super fucking lucky, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Electric Shot, I think even at -1 will honestly kill. Well, okay, now I should say at +0, I think it will just kill me. It's 130 base power special attack. That's super effective. I know I'm AV, but I still think that's just gonna kill. No. Okay, shit, that doesn't kill. I mean, even still, Bleakwind doesn't check accuracy in Rain unless I like kill a Torn, which I don't think will happen. And plus, I mean, they avoid it anyway. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's game. That's unfortunately game. Claw unfortunately failed me. Really the only Pokemon of the set to fail me though, which kind of says a lot. I mean, even still, Claw got a win. And the fact that this was somehow like the least impressive of the Pokemon kind of shocks me, because I brought fucking Cacturne, and like Claw at least has like a merit in VGC. I feel like it's a slow water type that's like slower than Prim, and it's also a special attacker, unlike the Azumarill and the Araquanid. Like technically has a niche. It's a decent wall breaker naturally too, with a nice special defense stat with the Assault Vest. But like it did the worst of the bunch, and it's not like a terrible pick. I just think that it's just kind of surprising, but it might have just been an off day. Regardless, though, if you guys want to try the team yourselves, of course, it's going to be in the beginning as well as in the description below. If you guys enjoyed and want to see more content like this, like and subscribe for more, and consider becoming a channel member for just a couple dollars a month. You get some nice bonus content, and our current channel members are going to be none other than Zeke0, Mia, Rao Sakura, Obo, Josh A. Ultra Player, Endless Gadgets, Incog M, and our bigger fan, Vincent Wee. Thank you guys so much for your support on the channel, and with that said, I will see you guys tomorrow for another video. Until then, peace out, guys.